Hello and welcome to my studio in the heart of East London's vibrant Brick Lane. Today's lesson will be focusing on just some general tips before we move on to learning songs. So the first general tip I'd like you to think about is when you first are faced with a song or you're learning a new melody, it's quite useful to hum through it, to through it, or use some of the voiced fricatives, which are the sounds we used when we were doing sirens on the. So I'll give you an example. So, just humming through it gently just gives you a shape of the feel of the melody, the contours, and maybe some of the dynamics. And it's just quite an easy way, without thinking about the lyrics yet, of just shaping that melody and seeing how it fits, and for finding out which notes feel easy and which notes feel harder. And the other one is like that. For men, I need $1, it goes. So you don't need to shape every single note, you have to go like. Just kind of get the general shape. So that's tip number one. So tip number two. So far we've been focused on preparing the voice for singing, preparing the body for singing, but actually most singing is singing songs, we're not just singing exercises. So singing a song is a lot more than singing the right notes in the right order with the right timing. Of course, they're fundamental and all those things have to be in place. But singing a song is actually about communicating emotion, communicating experience, and a kind of artistic interpretation of, if you like. So it's really important to understand the lyrics of what you're singing, almost like an actor would study a text before performing. So try and find the emotional connection to the song. Try and think about what the story of the song is. Does the emotion change at any points? And even if the song is something that you personally can't relate to, you can think imaginatively about how that person might feel, almost putting on a slight character without characterfully changing your voice, but just thinking that empathy for someone else's situation. And this will make your performance, your eventual performance, a lot more convincing and believable. Tip number 3 is just to remember that sometimes when we find a clear emotional connection to a song, this can actually enhance our emotional communication and our performance. So for example, if I'm excited, naturally my voice will come up, it'll be a bit faster, whereas if I'm feeling sad, it might be a bit slower often and a bit deeper. And if I'm saying something quite intimate to you, to someone very close, then it might get lower. But if I'm trying to make myself heard to a big auditorium or communicate something really joyful, it might be bigger and more expressive. So let that emotion influence your dynamic journey and your expressive choices. Tip number 4 is to explore the song by speaking it. Now, sometimes when I ask people to do this exercise, so I'll use To Make You Feel My Love, I get them just recounting the lyric, like, when the rain is blowing in your face, when the whole world is on your case. But actually that's not helpful to finding an emotion, that's just reciting the song. But if you're telling someone what the actual essence of that is, it's like, when everything feels unbearable and it's so tough for you, I'll be there, I'll be loving you, I'll be the one that's holding you. And if you notice what happened when I was explaining that, very naturally, not something I thought about, was my gesture came very naturally. And gesture is a big part of our emotional performance and communication. So find what comes naturally for you as a way into expressing your song. Tip number 5, the songs that we've chosen on this course are from the Rock School syllabus, and the ones we've engaged with for this particular lesson plan are designed to be relatively accessible and easy to sing for the majority of adult singers. But it's really important to say that there are exceptions. Remember, every voice is unique, and that's what makes things beautiful. So if you're finding that the song is too difficult for you, that some notes are hard to hit, then please don't give up hope. It may be something very simple, like you need to change the key. Now, the general rule about changing a key is if you're finding the high notes hard to reach, but the low note is very easy for you, bring the key down. And if you're finding that actually it's too low for you and you kind of feel like no sound's really coming out down there, you probably need to bring the key a little higher. Tip number 6 is to always remember that your vocal health is of primary importance. I don't ever want you to feel that you're having to shout to hit a note. It should never feel tight around this area. You shouldn't be too loud or working too hard. The songs that we've chosen are designed to be sort of relatively accessible for most voices. But if you feel that it's not for you, then it's probably it's a good idea to seek some individual one-to-one time with a vocal coach, just so you can be guided through. Your voice is unique and so are you, and there's nothing wrong with having some one-to-one tailored guidance.